Welcome to the Centre for Brexit's YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by our researcher David Hearn. So David, last night was the first TV debate of the election campaign so far. Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn clashed on everything from Brexit to the NHS. But how important do you think these TV debates are?
I think they have an impact. I think that for those that watch them, most people will already have made up their minds. Most people that watch them will be quite politically engaged. That's why they're watching them, and those who are politically engaged, we know, are much more likely to have already made up their minds on who they're going to vote for. That being said, there will be some impact. I think it will not be as big as a lot of people directly involved in the campaign would like to think or are likely to feel. There will be some impact, but I don't see it dramatically shifting the opinion polls one way or another. Multiple debates and multiple gaffes can obviously swing the course of an election, but a one-off debate, not so much.
So the major controversy of the evening was that the Conservative Party's press account on Twitter was renamed FactCheckUK for the debate. Twitter have said that they misled the public with this rebrand. What are your thoughts?
I think that for any political party to have done that is fairly outrageous. I am surprised that Twitter did not censure that more immediately. They have said that they will do so if it happens again. I also have to say that I think that serious questions perhaps will want to be asked at CCHQ and need to be asked of CCHQ, because this is not the first gaffe of that nature that has happened during the election campaign. Eagle-eyed viewers will remember the doctored video of Sir Keir Starmer early on in the election campaign, and now we've had this, which, whatever your political views, was quite obviously designed to mislead the public into thinking that it was more independent than it was. So I think very serious questions need to be asked of certain individuals' judgment in terms of the social media campaign there, because that appears problematic, and it would be for any political party.
So Dominic Raab defended the Twitter account this morning, telling BBC Breakfast that no one gives a toss about the social media cut and thrust. Do you think that the impact could possibly impact the Tories' lead in the polls?
I don't think it will have a huge impact. You would like to imagine, I think, that shady and underhand tactics would be punished, but unfortunately the history of elections suggests that is not the case, and that's true for all sides. I don't want to try and make this into a partisan issue. I think had Labour done something of this nature, or had the Liberal Democrats done something like this, or any other party for that matter, I think the outrage would be equal and justified. So this is not a party political thing. It is, however, something that I think they will need to look at very closely, and I think that there should be some consequence for that. That being said, Raab's language aside, it's not a defence at all, but it is perhaps a statement of fact that it's unlikely that this kind of bad behaviour will shift the opinion polls enormously one way or another, whatever your views of that.
So the TV debate didn't include the likes of Swinson or Nicola Sturgeon. Was this a mistake by ITV, or do you think that it really is just a two-horse race at this point?
And that's an interesting question, and I think to a large extent it depends on where you live. Because if you live in Scotland, for example, then it's likely that the Scottish National Party will win an overwhelming majority of seats in Scotland. So you surely would want to have the views of those who will be representing you at Westminster. You'll want to have those views represented. Now, there are questions over whether it should be Sturgeon who does that representation, or someone like Ian Blackford. As Sturgeon is, of course, not an MP, she is an MSP. And Blackford is the leader of the SNP in Parliament. By the same token, it is Sturgeon who sets the overall direction of the party as its leader. So there are questions perhaps to be asked in that particular case. More generally, if you live in a constituency where it's a two-horse race between the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats, or even Labour and the Liberal Democrats in one or two cases, then you would want those views represented, because they represent the choices that are in front of you. For most of the country, however, the reality is that this is a two-horse race, however much the smaller parties might not wish that to be the case. And for the majority of the population living in the UK, they will effectively have a choice between two parties. And that's certainly true in the opinion polls as well, with the Conservatives leading just over 40% of the vote, Labour at 30%, and the Liberal Democrats on half that at about 16%. So for all the talk of this being a multi-party race, other parties are important in certain places, but actually overall it is a two-horse race.
So there's 3 weeks left of election campaigning. What are you expecting from the final weeks?
I think that we will probably see more of the same. I think that Johnson will attempt to continue the laser-like focus on Brexit. I think there's enormous apathy within the country as a whole about Brexit. There's a sense that people just want it to be over. Please God, make it stop, make it finish. I understand that. I would caution people, however, that passing a withdrawal agreement through Parliament will not make Brexit stop. This is not the end of the process. It does not matter who wins on the 12th of December. This is not going to be the end of the process. It in fact will be just the beginning. That is the reality, and no amount of spin, no amount of telling you anything otherwise by politicians is going to change that fact. It is a fact, not anything else. The simple facts of the matter are the withdrawal agreement is the very, very bare bones terms of the divorce, and all of the difficult negotiations are yet to even begin, let alone anything else. So Brexit will continue to dominate the agenda, of that there is no question. Johnson will want to continue focusing on Brexit and will repeat the line, get Brexit done, however accurate or not that might be. And Corbyn will want to continue focusing on other areas, particularly the NHS, as there's considerable public dissatisfaction over the status of things like waiting times in accident and emergency. He'll want to continue focusing on schools and schools funding, which, as you'll know, has been cut back, at least on a per student basis in real terms over recent years. And we'll also want to focus on other areas like the fact that local authorities have lost 50% plus of their funding, which has impacted a huge variety of services that perhaps people are unaware of. There is a reason why rough sleeping and homelessness, for example, have increased dramatically in recent years, and cut back in local authority budgets are part of that.
Thank you for joining us, David.
Thank you.